and lawmakers demanding that federal agencies turn over a dozen of classified UFO videos, and they only have around a week to do so. Representative Paulina Luna of Florida sent a letter to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth requesting 46 specific videos of UFOs by April 14th.
Is the U.S. government hiding aliens from us? And if so, where are they?
You want me to answer that?
Yes, of course I do. Everybody wants you to answer. We are recording.
Okay, great. Yeah, they're hiding something. They've spent tens of millions of dollars at least since 1947 Roswell. If you look up Roswell, New Mexico, the UFO thing, and it's interesting. Military intelligence comes out one day, literally issues a press release. It's in newspapers. Saucer recovered. Then next day they pull this poor colonel out, and he's got a hold of the remnants of something that looks like a hot air balloon and says, "Oh, we made a mistake. It was a balloon." You know, they just don't make mistakes like that. And military intelligence to me is like congressional ethics. I really don't think it exists, and for obvious reasons. And so, yeah, I think they're hiding something. They spent tens of millions of dollars. The Pentagon does not. Then they lost over $500 billion in assets. We audit them every year, and they've never passed an audit. And yeah, they spent, like I said, tens of millions of dollars on something, and then they issue these reports. They're just redacted. It looked like somebody shot it with a 12 gauge. And then they expect us to believe it. And they come out and, some big shot a couple of weeks ago at the Pentagon comes out and says that, oh, it's just a circular trail we're going in. This doesn't, it's just, they're just one story and they're just refabricated. No, it's not one story. It's 1,000 different stories. I have people call my office daily, if not weekly, with stories. And, I have military fighting men and women in airplanes, $50 million, $500 million aircraft, telling me this thing was within 14 feet of their canopy. We've got video of it. We're briefed on things that are secret that we're not allowed to talk about. And this chuck wagon tells us they don't exist and that we're all just a bunch of fools. And I doubt he's ever fired a shot in anger. He drives a four-legged mahogany.
What piqued your interest? Because in 2023, you launched the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Caucus. Could you explain what that is and what got you to the point of wanting to do that?
Well, I mean, it started when I was a kid. I had really cool parents that never tried to tamp down my curiosity. I'd ride my bike, or they'd drop me off at the library, or as we say in East Tennessee, the library. And, the librarians had these books lined up on this shit, out. And one of them was on UFOs, and I picked it up and started reading about it, and kind of fascinated me. I did a little research, and it's in the historical record. It's duplicated a lot. We've got, biblical references. Ezekiel saw the wheel, first chapter of Genesis. God created the heavens and the earth. If you go out at night and see the stars, the light from those stars literally left there before the time of Christ. I mean, we are one grain in a billion beaches. Infinity is a long ways, brother. And so and then you fast forward, now I'm in Congress, and all they do is cover stuff up, and they do not tell us the truth. And then it just goes on and on. They say they're going to release a report. They release a report, or they delay it, and it's redacted. It's just a bunch of, it looks like a Swiss cheese. And then they tell us there's nothing in there. Well, then why don't you release some of the information that you spent these tens of millions of dollars on?
In your best guess, what is the motivation behind the unwillingness to come clean? Do they think it would be just utter chaos in civilization? Do they think that people are literally not capable of handling the idea? I agree with you. My knowledge of the known universe I get from scientists, and if it's as big and as broad as they say, and as there's many stars and suns and solar systems, in my mind, mathematically, I'm like, okay, what are the odds that there's something else out there? Probably pretty high. I could accept that as a reality. Maybe a little bit scary if they flew like a battleship into our atmosphere, like the 4th of July movie or whatever, Independence Day. But why do you think they're so unwilling to just be completely transparent?
I think it's power, it's corruption, it's control, it's all those things that run this sewer we call Washington, D.C. And if they were to come out, say they were, if the Tic Tac videos, for instance, if you watch those, there's no heat signature. You know, you have something that's capable of some incredible aerodynamics that defy all of our current rules and laws that we know is being truthful. And they, I mean, you know, the Pentagon would be out of business. We wouldn't be fighting all these wars overseas for oil, and our energy sector would possibly go out of business as we know it. They'd have to make an honest living, and maybe there would be something close to world peace. I don't know. We'd always find something to fight about, but you know, I think it keeps the status quo, and it doesn't. And I'm a Christian. I'm a born again Christian. It doesn't bother me that there's something else out there. It doesn't. You know, because we always try to put God in this little box, and that's just not. They always say, you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans for your life. I mean, it doesn't fit. And the arrogance of it, to think that we can't handle it, and they're, you know, you see these arrogant fools up here in Washington, D.C. all the time. I mean, they couldn't change the oil in their own cars, and yet they want to tell us how to live our lives, and we pay them incredible amounts of money, and they're deeply embedded in our government. So I think there's a lot to do with it. But I think part of it too is that it's so compartmentalized that so many, I mean, anybody who was around at Roswell, firsthand knowledge, is dead now, literally. So, I mean, that's the ultimate compartmentalization. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and, you know, I back up to Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And during the war, you know, they created the bomb, or one of them. And, you know, you had thousands of people worked over there, and maybe a half a dozen people in the whole thing knew what it was about. I met husbands and wives that didn't know. They both worked there, but they didn't know what the other one did. And that's because compartmentalization. We had honor, we trust people back then, and for good reason. And I've talked to former Navy folks that have been on ships that had a incredible sighting of something, of some craft, and we're told never to talk about this. This is national security, unless you want to go to Leavenworth and bust rocks for the rest of your life. And so, and they believed it, and that's what they did. And so now, fast forward, all this information has been passed on, I think, to corporations that have contracts with the Pentagon but are not FOIA-able, which means Freedom of Information Act. They cannot seize their documents and put them out. So there's a long trail. There's a lot of reasons why it's not out there, but I think America needs to know we pay a lot of money. I tell people it's not about little green men and flying saucers. I mean, ultimately that's what we'll find out, but ultimately we should want to know where all this money's going.
Yeah. Good luck. Even in my own experience in the military, good luck following the breadcrumbs on where that goes.
Of course. I mean, we've got our people working on it right now. I don't want to oversell how much time it will take, right? We're digging in. We're going to be in full compliance with that executive order, eager to provide that for the president. So there'll be more coming on that as far as the process of what we'll do.
And what sort of time frame? Do you have any sense for how long this is going to take?
I don't have a time frame for you yet, but stand by. We'll get it for you.
And do you think aliens on what's happening?
What?
Do you think aliens exist?
We'll see. I get to do the review and find out along with you.